Hello everyone, let us continue with the module 5 topics. In this video, we are going to discuss about the types of schedules like serial schedules and non-serial schedules. Okay. A schedule is said to be serial if all the operations of the transaction T are executed consecutively in the schedule. That is one by one. So all the operations are executed one by one. Okay. So only one transaction at a time is active here. So once the transaction T1 gets completed, then only it can initiate the next transaction, say T2. Okay. So the commit or the abort statement of the active transaction T1 initiates the execution of the next transaction T2. Okay, so in this serial schedule, only one transaction at a time is active and no interleaving is allowed in the serial schedule. No concurrent operation is allowed in the serial schedule. Okay, so we can have the order of execution as either T1 followed by the T2 or T2 followed by the T1. As long as every transaction is executed from beginning to end in isolation from the operations of other transactions, the order of execution of transaction is not significant. That is, we can have the order of transaction as either T1 followed by T2 or T2 followed by T1. Let's look at an example. Suppose that two users, for example, two airline reservation agents, submit to the DBMS transactions T1 and T2 at approximately the same time. And if no concurrent operation is allowed, there are only two possible outcomes. Execute all the operations of T1, then T2, or execute all the operations of the transaction T2 followed by the transaction T1. So these are the only two possible schedules, right? And these two schedules are serial schedules because we are initiating only one transaction at a time. Okay, T1 is initiated, then only T2 is starting its execution. In the second schedule, schedule B, T2 is executing the set of operations. After completing it, then only the T1 starts its execution, right? The order of this execution of the transaction is not matters here because all the transactions are executed in isolation, independent to each other. Okay, now let's look into some of the disadvantages of this serial schedule. In serial schedule, no interleaving of operations, and so the benefit of having the concurrent execution of transactions is not there. Fine. In serial schedule, if a transaction waits for an IO operation to complete, we cannot switch the processor to another transaction, which may affect the CPU processing time. That is, while executing the current transaction T1, it cannot switch to another transaction, though it may be of higher priority. Okay. If some transaction T is quite long, all the other transactions in the queue must wait for this transaction to complete all its operation. Okay. That is, if we are executing a transaction which is of too long, all the other transactions in the queue need to wait for this transaction to get complete all its operations. All these points makes these serial schedules as unacceptable in real life. So let's discuss about the non-serial schedules. In non-serial schedules, the operations of multiple transactions are interleaved. The transactions are executed in a non-serial manner, keeping the end result correct and same as the serial schedule. Though we are executing in non-serial manner, the final result is correct and same as the serial schedule. Unlike the serial schedule where one transaction need to wait for another transaction to complete, in the non-serial schedule, the transaction proceeds without waiting for the previous transaction to complete. Okay, so the waiting time is very less in the non-serial schedules. And we'll be having two types of non-serial schedules, serializable schedule and non-serializable schedule. Okay, first let us look into this serializable schedule, which is mainly used to ensure that the database state remains consistent. The non-serial schedule is said to be in serializable schedule only when it is equivalent to the serial schedules for n number of transactions. That is, any schedule that produces the same result as the serial schedule for n number of transactions, then it is called as a serializable schedule. Though it is a non-serial schedule, it produces the same result as the serial schedule for n number of transactions. Okay. Here the concurrency is allowed and so multiple transactions can execute concurrently, which helps in improving both resource utilization and CPU throughput. So as we just said, a non-serial schedule is serializable if it is equivalent to a serial schedule. Fine. But when we can say that two schedules are equivalent, for two schedules to be equivalent, the operations applied to each data item affected by the schedules should be applied to that item in both the schedules in the same order. Then only we can say that the two schedules are equivalent. That is, the operations applied to the each data item should be in the same order in both the schedules. Okay. So two definitions of equivalence of schedules are the conflict equivalence and view equivalence. A schedule is called conflict serializable if it can be transformed into a serial schedule by swapping non-conflicting operations. Okay, let us consider a schedule S in which there are two consecutive instructions I and J of transactions Ti and Tj respectively, where I and J are different. Okay, fine. If I and J refer to different data items, say A and B, then we can swap this I and J without affecting the results of any instruction in the schedule, because I is referring to the data item A and J is referring to the data item B. And these two transactions are executing in isolation. And so the swapping between this I and J is not affecting the result of any instruction in the schedule. But if I and J refer to the same data item Q, then the order of the two steps matter. Okay, so if the data item is same, then the order of the execution matters. Okay. So if the I and J instructions of different transactions are not conflicting, then we can swap the order of I and J to produce a new schedule S bar. Okay. So if I and J of different transactions are not conflicting, then we can swap this order of execution, which produces a new schedule S bar. In the given example, the write of A instruction of T2 in schedule is not conflicting with the read B instruction of T1, and by swapping these two instructions, we can generate an equivalent schedule. Okay, so we are swapping the non-conflicting operations to generate an equivalent schedule or a new schedule. So if a schedule S can be transformed into another schedule S bar by a series of swaps of non-conflicting instructions, we can say that S and S bar are conflict equivalent. Okay, that is, the S bar is a new schedule formed from the given schedule S by performing a series of swapping operations on the non-conflicting instructions of the schedule S. Okay, so we are performing the swapping of non-conflicting instructions of S to get a new schedule S bar. Okay, so we can say that this S and S bar are conflict equivalent. Fine. Let us look at an example. We are given with two transactions T1 and T2. Okay, let us find out the non-conflicting instructions. Okay, so the two operations conflict if they belong to two different transactions and they access the same data item and one of them is a write. Only if all the three conditions satisfies, then only we can say that the operations are conflicting. Okay, now let's find out the non-conflicting operations. Okay, when we look into that, we can see that the read of B of T1 can be swapped with read of A of T2 because it they are accessing the different data item B and A. Okay, so the swapping is possible. Then swapping of the write B of T1 with write A of T2. Here also they are accessing the different data item and so swapping is possible. They are non-conflicting instruction. Fine. Swapping of the write B of T1 with read A of T2. Here also we are accessing the different data item. So the swapping is allowed. Okay. So we by swapping these non-conflicting instructions, we can get a new schedule named as S bar. Okay. So this S bar is equivalent to a serial schedule. So a schedule S is conflict serializable if it is conflict equivalent to a serial schedule. Okay. So the final result is a serial schedule. Fine. Two operations conflict if they belong to different transactions and access the same data item and one of them is a write. Okay, so it should satisfy all these three conditions. Then only we can say that the two operations are conflicting each other. Okay, so the two operations should belong to different transactions and they access the same data item and one of them is a write, then there occurs a conflict operation. In the given example, the write of A instruction of T1 conflicts with the read of A instruction of T2. Okay, here one of them is a write operation and they are accessing the same data item and both these operations are of two different transactions T1 and T2. So there occurs a conflict. Okay. However, the write of A instruction of T2 does not conflict with the read B instruction of T1 because the two instructions access different data items. Though they belongs to two different transactions and one of them is a write, the third condition is not satisfying here. That is, they are accessing not the same data. They are accessing different data items A and B. So they are not conflict. So two operations are said to conflict. It should satisfy all the three conditions. Okay. So we need to consider four conditions. If I is equal to read of A and J is equal to read of A, the order of I and J doesn't matter because the same value of A is read by T1 and T2. Okay, so both the operations are read. Though they are accessing the same item, both the operations are read. Okay. In the second case, I is equal to read of A and J is equal to write of A. So here they are accessing the same item and one of the operation is write operation and they belong to two different transactions. So there occurs a chance for the conflict. So the order matters here. So if I comes before J, then Ti doesn't read the value of A that is written by Tj in instruction J. If J comes before I, then Ti reads the value of A that is written by Tj. Thus, the order of I and J matters. Similar is the third condition. I is equal to write of A and J is equal to read of A. Here also one of the operation is write and they are accessing the same data item and they belong to two different transactions. So here also the order of I and J matters. And in the fourth condition, I is equal to write of A and J is equal to write of A. If there is no write of A instruction after I and J in the schedule, then the order of I and J directly affects the final value of A in the database. Okay. So, two operations are conflicting if changing their order can result in a different outcome. Okay. And this leads to three types of conflicts. Reading uncommitted data, that is the write-read conflict. unrepeatable reads, read-write conflicts, overwriting uncommitted data, write-write conflicts. Let's look into these three conflicts in detail. Okay, first let us look into write-read conflict. This conflict occurs when a transaction reads the data which is written by the other transaction before committing. Okay, that is when we are going to read the uncommitted data, this write-read conflict occurs. Let's look at an example. Here we are given with two transactions, say T1 and T2. Okay. This T2 is reading the database object A, which is already been modified by the transaction T1. But this transaction T1 is not yet committed. Okay. So such a read is called dirty read. Since the transaction T1 is not yet committed, there is a chance to move to either of the state commit or abort state. So there is a chance for having the inconsistency in the data. So it violates the ACID property of data consistency rule. So actually the expected behavior is the T2 should not read the value if T1 already has written the data and has not committed. Okay. So such type of conflict can be called as write-read conflicts. Now let's look into the second anomaly associated with interleaved execution of transaction, that is the read-write conflict, which is also known as unrepeatable schedules. Okay. We are given with a schedule S which consists of two transactions T1 and T2. Okay. T1 read the original value of A and is waiting for T2 to finish. T2 reads the original value of A, it updates it and commits it. Okay. Then the T1 again reads from A. It discovers now two different versions of A. While having the first read, he got a value for A, and for the second read, will getting another value for A. So the T1 would be forced to abort because T1 would not know what to do. Okay. So this is the case of an unrepeatable read. Okay. So there occurs an inconsistency in the data of A. So while reading the for the first time, the T1 got a value for A, and when it repeats the read operation after the T2, it got another value for A. So there occurs the conflict between the two value of A, and so this T1 aborted that particular transaction. Okay, so this is the unrepeatable read which could never occur in a serial schedule. Now let's look into the third type of anomaly, that is the write-write conflict, also called as overwriting the uncommitted data. Okay. We are having two transactions, say T1 and T2. Here, the transaction T2 is writing the data which is written by T1, and this T1 is not yet committed. Okay. So, transaction T2 is writing data which is already written by the transaction T1. T2 overwrites the data written by T1, and it is called as blind write operation. Okay, so what happened to the data written by T1? It gets vanished, and so it is data update loss. So while updating, the value written by the T1 gets lost, right? So the data written by T1 has vanished, since we are going to have a write operation on the uncommitted data. Okay, that is the write-write conflict. So in this video, we discussed about the conflict serializability. Thank you.